place. But no, this is all mine are like from eBay and stuff because I'm not spending $150 on shirts. As anyone who's joined can hear this chat about. There you go. Get the light on. Probably should have given you some warning that we're starting. Anyone who's joined can hear about the fact that all my retro shirts, Fiorentina, 98, 90, 90, 98, 99, with Gabriel Batistuta on the back. So for anyone who's watching and knows who that is, then there you go. But also I didn't get your opinion on the teams quickly before we start. Quickly.
The Richmond Carlton teams. Well, look, I'm relatively pleased. I like it. Suits. It's a team that suits Richmond, a good running team, which is what you need. And you know, I like the fact that Ed is in there because he will run for 4 quarters, and that's all he'll do.
There you go.
O'Brien out personally. Fantastic. You wouldn't be too happy with your man Plough out though.
Yeah, no Plough, but super sub. And I raised this point on the team show, which was only not long ago. Plough the super sub, just food for thought. All right. Anyway, yeah, we'll get on to our actual predictions for that a little bit later on. We'll touch on that. But I think it's a good place to start. We've rambled enough. So hello everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of The Rest, where this is crunch time now. We're at 24 and 40 minutes away, 24 hours and 40 minutes away from our blood pressure and heart rate fucking skyrocketing. So that's going to be good fun. But yes, I'm joined by Nathan once again. I'm your host Ari, and how are your feelings towards just round 1 in general? Not so much tomorrow night, but just footy being back, because I've missed it dearly.
Yeah, well, like I said last week, it's like I don't want to think about it, but I keep seeing the hype reels, and I'm like, it's been back. But then it's like if Carlton lose, it's like, oh, it's back. Like it's back in a bad way.
Right? Yeah, that's why I don't mind Thursday nights, because Thursday nights you got Friday for those who work. You go to work, you cop the shit, but it's like you can move on quickly and you get over and done with. Whereas Sunday 4:40 games, it's like you can't even enjoy the footy because it's always on your mind. But there you go. What's going on, Robbie, mate? Hey, how are you, my friend? So we're back again, and we're gonna be doing some proper predictions today. We're gonna be doing some proper predictions. 18-1. Then we're going to be doing grand final, Brownlow, Coleman, Rising Star, Surprise All Australian, Recruit of the Year. Headline we will see, headline we won't see. So they're a couple of a little bit different-ish predictions. And then, of course, we're going to be speaking about a big thing that happened in the week, which will be very, very funny to speak about, I think. And then also we're going to be predicting round 1 at the back end of this, just to clarify, if it does sound like I'm speaking with a little bit of a lisp, I'm just going to do this for my kind of closure sake. I've just got Invisible in, so that's potentially why I may not sound fully clear. But anyway, that's enough of my ramblings. Let's crack into it. Let's just go, and let's start bottom to top, because I feel like this is a good place to start. Let's keep the audience engaged. Let's start with 18th. And I said to you that we're going to do this quickly, so we're just going to say the team, and then just we're just going to say the team and then why. And I'll throw to you. I'll kick things off with you. Who do you think are going to win the wooden spoon in season 2023?
You've strategically thrown to me here, so when you say it, you've got some more space here. But I'll go quick for you. I'll go quick and smart. I've got Hawthorn in 18th. I just don't see their growth happening this year. I think they'll struggle quite a lot. It's quite a young list, and there's not much experience left for Hawthorn to go off. And I think I was saying this to you last week as well. A lot of teams owe Hawthorn for what they did to them back in those glory years, and I don't think teams will take them very lightly anymore. I think they'll have quite a similar year to what North did, and I think they'll be competitive. I don't think they'll get smashed every week. I just don't think the talent is there to compete really much at all. They'll just sort of be there to compete every week, but not put in a real good challenge. So Hawthorn 18th for me.
Yeah, I don't necessarily entirely disagree. Don't want to spoil where I've got them, but I don't have them in 18th. So this is the first position in which we differ. And I feel like we're going to be differing a lot because I feel like we think about footy a little bit differently. But in 18th place, I've got the GWS Giants. I I just feel in order to rebuild, in order to come back up, they need to bottom out fully. I know the talent on that list is on paper just unbelievable, but I think they need to bottom out to really propel back up to the top of the table. So despite the talent, they've got some good young kids who should hopefully show some signs. Show some signs. That's not easy to say with plastic in your mouth, but yeah, I think Cadman's going to be a good player this year. I think he's gonna show why he was taken so early, and yeah, so I've got the GWS Giants in 18th. So we differ on the first one. There you go. All right, 17th place. I'll kick things off. This is where I've got Hawthorn. I think very similar reasoning to you. Just young, inexperienced. That midfield, while it's got potential, that obviously losing Jaeger and Mitchell is very tough. And the forwards, once again, they're just a lot of potential. A lot of potential. I don't see a lot of current ability in that team, unfortunately. So, yeah, in 17th place, I've got the Hawks, but I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll be competitive, and I think they're going to be very hard to beat, especially early on in the season. But once the bodies start to break down towards the back end, I think that's where they'll drop some games quite convincingly. But I think early on they'll be competitive. So yeah, Hawthorn in 17th. Who have you got?
Similar predictions. Well, I've got GWS in 17th. So, look, I it's hard to say because I had GWS making the 8 last year. I thought they would have a list that would at least push for the 8, and it went all downhill with injuries. I don't know. They're a team I think could finish higher than that, and I think they're a team who might be able to actually surprise a lot of the competition. So having them in 17th, I can't say I'm completely confident that's where they'll end up. But yeah, no, I agree similar. I just don't think that list is ready to take the next step. I sort of differ on your views from Cadman. I don't think he'll really suit them at the start, but I definitely think he'll grow into quite a good prospect and a good draft recruit in the end. But he really probably wouldn't have gone that high if it wasn't for their actual need of a key position forward. So I think he'll take a bit of time, but he will come into it eventually.
Right. So you are the draft expert. So I'll take your word.
I'm not an expert, mate. I'm still
you are far more of an expert than I am. So I'll take your word for it on that. So yeah, we've got same clubs. We've spoken about 2 clubs, 2 different places. As we move on to 16th, and I'll kick off. We'll throw it to you. We'll do a little bit of a snake style prediction thing. Who have you got?
Okay.
Third from bottom.
North for 16th. Same as last year. I just Clarkson's good. He's a great coach, but you need the talent to match a coach like that. You know, he can teach him as much as he knows. Every terrific game style that worked for Hawthorn, but North don't have the talent to replicate that. So I think you saw that a lot in the practice match, and you know, practice matches are practice matches, right? But as much as they don't mean anything, what I've seen, you know, with Carlton, when they have been smashed in practice matches, it always correlates most of the time. And not just like 30-point like smash-ins in practice matches, it always correlates. And there were clearly a lot of flaws in their game plan. And I think it will take quite a while for Clarkson to iron that out. And I don't think there's a lot of players on that North list that will remain there at the end of the year. They probably wouldn't have remained there this year if it wasn't for the coach switch. So, yeah, I don't know. I just can't see North being really competitive, but with a Alistair Clarkson team, you couldn't see him rolling over each week, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a pretty accurate description of North. I don't have them in 16th, so we differ again. I've got the West Coast Eagles. Now, I was umming and ahhing about this one a little bit, considering obviously their back end, or not their back end, their whole last year where they were brutalized with COVID injuries, etc., etc. But I there's something about them. I think they need to properly rebuild. Of course, Elliot Yeo injured again. What a surprise! So he won't be playing round 1. Bad for all Supercoach and fantasy people out there, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. Something doesn't. There's just something there, or something isn't there, I should say, about the West Coast Eagles, or about West Coast Eagles, I should say. And yeah, I've got them in 16th, and I mean, you'd think they'd win some games at Optus, but who knows at this stage, right? Who knows? Okay, let's move on. Rounding out the bottom four, and this this is a pick from me, and I'm just going to say this now. This could happen. This might not happen. This may happen. I don't know. But I've got a club that some people I've seen at least say that they could potentially push for top 8, and I don't agree. I've got the St Kilda Football Club rounding up the bottom 4. So and this will correlate to something of one of my other predictions a little bit later on, but it just doesn't work for me. Just doesn't work. The coach, the players, Max King injured for early on in the season. I think he's going to take a while to really assimilate back into the team. Just doesn't work. Just does not work. Don't like it. Doesn't fill me with a lot of hope. I know last year at Marvel they were able to pick up some wins and really kind of almost create that into a little bit of a fortress at times, especially when they've got the crowd up and running and stuff. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very poor year, for the Saints. And I'm not going to say Ross Lyon's job will be in trouble by the back end, but if it is, I wouldn't be surprised.
Fair call. I'm, we're sort of similar. I've got West Coast 15th. I see they're going to win games in Perth. I find it very hard to see them not winning games in Perth. The talent is still there on their list as much as it's aging. It's still there. So it's very hard to see West Coast just completely falling off like they did last year, which, like you mentioned, injuries, COVID. I couldn't see it happening again. Another team, West Coast, that teams owe them, I think. Certainly won't go light on them. But that is all I'm going to say to just time-wise. Let's keep going.
Yes, of course. That is something we struggled with last episode, so let's try and keep this under an hour at the maximum. All right, moving out of the bottom 4, 14th place. Once again, we'll start with you, of course, doing it how we have followed.
Yes. So 14th, I have Essendon. Not sure we're going to see much improvement. I don't like. I'm sort of repeating what I said last podcast, but I don't think the coach was an issue. I think their culture is just really poor, and I don't think the talent is there. It's easy to say like they've recruited well, but let's see these boys play in this team because I don't think it's I think it's just the culture around that club. They're so used to being unsuccessful, and obviously they've had. Made finals, but the culture's so odd. And I think if it is a coaching thing, I wouldn't expect Brad Scott to come in his first year and take him to finals and win a final. But I think it will just be a really up and down year. They'll have patches where we'll all think for a second they're going to actually push for the 8, and then they'll lose to West Coast by 5 goals, and we'll be like, okay, they're back to where they started. So 14th, but they're always an odd one to watch.
Yeah, I agree. And finally, the first kind of agreement we've got. I've got the Bombers in 14th as well. I think it's going to be I don't want to really echo your thoughts. I don't want to repeat what you just said, but yeah, I concur. It doesn't fit. Look at the turmoil that happened in the back end of last year for them. I just think that's going to be a very, very bad. I think that's a bad omen for them. I don't think their list is that balanced. When you look at when Will Setterfield, with all due respect to you, Nathan, is your biggest big body midfielder, standing out like 190. I know he's like 192 centimeters, but he isn't exactly Patrick Cripps, right? So when your midfield is very small, when Peter Wright is your only real forward target, they're small forwards. They did kind of fix that, but is Stringer going to be the player he was 2 years ago? Maybe, who knows? Yeah, something missing. Essendon in 14th. Sorry for taking a pot shot at you there, my friend. Let's move on to 13th. Now, this is where I wouldn't say finals is kind of on the cards for some of these teams, because I've got a clear bracket for these teams in the way that I look at the ladder and I look at the teams. But this probably is going to be our biggest gap in terms of where we think teams are going to finish in comparison to one another. I've got North Melbourne in 13th. I think that they, under Alistair Clarkson, it is. I wouldn't say it's that big, because I think North Melbourne are coming to this season with nothing to lose. I think Clarko is going to have them play a game style which is nothing to lose, just play football. And it's not going to be an accurate representation of where they might finish maybe next season in 2024. But I think they're going to have a free game style. They're going to just play football. They've got one of the best tactical masterminds in the games I've ever seen coaching them. I just think they're going to play with the freedom. They're going to play with a little bit of a nothing to lose attitude. Just put everything out there, and they're going to upset a few teams. Teams will take them lightly, I think, because they're just going to look at what North did for the last couple of seasons and think, that we're going to roll them over quite comfortably. I think they're going to be tough. I think they're going to take it to a lot of good teams, and I've got North in 13th, potentially one of the bolder predictions. Maybe another one's coming up, but I think it is a bold prediction. I will accept that, but I've got North in 13th.
It's a big call. I feel like that's either going to come back to bite you, or actually your boldest call and the best.
Yeah, if they finish 13th on the dot, I'm going to look like a genius, and I love to be right. So there you go.
It is big. 13th St Kilda for me. Look, it's not looking good, is it? But the problem with their injuries at the moment, I just couldn't see them having a strong start to the season, and we've seen in previous seasons, as soon as a team who's pushing for the 8 has a really slow start, you're finished. They're not finished. You're just always playing catch up, and they don't really have the list to play catch up. I don't think. It's just going to be very tough for them. And Ross is, good coach, done some good things, but as I said with North, they just don't have the list to be coached to a high standard. It just doesn't. A good coach doesn't mean a good team. It means a good coach. So
it does.
It is. Yeah, it's going to be odd. It's going to be a weird year for St Kilda.
Yeah, I just want to quickly point. Yes, I agree, Jacob. See, so at least someone agrees with me, Nathan. There you go. Well, I mean, you didn't necessarily. We're not giving out 2027 predictions, so you might be right then. If we're still doing this in 4 years' time, then that'll be a turn of events. There you go. But what are we doing next? 12th.
12th.
I'll let you kick things off, of course.
It is me. I have Adelaide in 12th. A very weird one, because I've heard a lot of different opinions about Adelaide, that there's nothing really there for them to jump, which I do agree with. And I think, like we mentioned last week, apart from their forward line, you sort of look at their list and you ask where the depth is. So I think they will struggle to maintain consistent form if they do get on a good winning streak at the very least throughout the season. I think it's a team that probably won't be able to maintain that. I think they'll probably be one of the more competitive teams in that bracket we're talking about. I think there won't be a game they really sort of roll over for. And much like West Coast, they don't lose in Adelaide too often. Like, they always are very competitive. And apart from that Giants game last year, they were beating teams, good teams, and if not, taking them right to the last quarter. So they get their wins at home, which is what I think every good team should be able to do, is win at home. And it's a round ball thing as well, I think. You just bank your wins at home, and that's what Adelaide, I think, could do to be even more successful this year. But 12th for me.
Yes. Now, I'm looking down at my ladder, and I am umming and ahhing about whether or not to make a very, very, very last-minute change, just based on what you've just said. But I'm just looking at a team that sits above the team that I might say, and I'm thinking there's no way that they're going to finish below them. But stranger things have happened, and you know what? I'm going to put my neck out on the line, and I think you can maybe guess which team's coming up. In 12th place, I've got the Collingwood Magpies. And I say that with a smile, and the reason I do that is because I can understand if you're watching this and you're a Collingwood supporter, or if you're just a supporter for another team in general and think that I'm deluded and think that I'm a biased person. I completely understand that, but at least let me give my reasoning. And I said this last week. I said, if Collingwood lose, so Collingwood won, I think they won 16 games last season, I think, give or take. If they win 10 games this season, if they win 6 less than what they did last year, but win of those 10 wins, 8 of them are by at least 4 goals, maybe 5 goals, they're really putting away teams. I think that's an improvement. I genuinely think for the long-term future of this list, that is an improvement. Because when you look at their players, a lot of their good players last year are coming towards the end of their career, right? Jack Crisp, 29 years old, Jamie Elliott, Brody Myercheck, Pendlebury, Jeremy Howe, these older players, right? Maybe barring the Dacoses and maybe Quaynor and Ginnivan as well, they haven't really had stars who are quite young. So having this kind of a reset year to really find their equilibrium in a sense, I don't think it's a bad thing. I genuinely don't think it's a bad thing. And as much as like I can gloat and say, yeah, Collingwood won't play finals, I don't think it's a bad thing for them. I genuinely think if they finish 12th or 11th or 10th and they really find a consistent game style that can stack up against everyone, which granted their last year they did that, but they can win games convincingly, can win games in different manners, because it felt like they won the same. It felt like every single game they played was the same for last season. So if they can find a way to win differently and win convincingly, if that means dropping a few points off the ladder and dropping a few places and dropping out of finals, I think for the long term future of that list, for the long term future of that culture, I think it will be better for them. I think if they made the 8 in the same way that they did this year or last year, I think it's the worst thing for them. Because firstly, that's not going to happen. I can guarantee you that's not going to happen. And secondly, we saw it didn't hold up in finals. So you can't keep banking on that to eventually hold up. Teams, you have to evolve, you have to change the way you play in order to stack up when it matters most. And if that means dropping back and falling out of finals, I think that's the best way for them. But yeah, Collingwood.
I was going to time cap you, but I was like, you're going to use that as a good clip. So I was letting you play it out there. See, now this is quick and fast, like you said, But no, I will go through my. We have to 12th. We're up to 12th.
The thing.
Oh, no, you haven't done my 12th.
Yeah, no, you have.
I've done my 12th. I've done my 12th.
The thing is, I feel like I can't just say Collingwood are going to finish 12th without giving proper explanation for it. I feel like I really need to really explain it. Otherwise, it does really look like I'm deluded, and I may be. And you know what? If I am, who cares? But I promise you, I'm rational. I'm trying to be rational anyway. I think they're going to finish 12th, but they're probably still going to beat us somehow. And you know what? They'll have the last laugh in that case. Let's move on. And I feel like we might be speaking about them again in the very near future. 11th place. That's me, isn't it? Yeah, I've got the Crows. And I've got Adelaide. And this was the team which I thought, gee, Adelaide aren't going to finish above Collingwood this season, are they? But you got to put your neck out on the line, and you got to put everything out there. So yeah, I'm going to put Adelaide 11th. I really like their list profile. I think the addition of Isaac Rankin is very good. I know probably last week I said that they're going to finish like the bottom 6, but I've obviously had a change of heart. And yeah, I just like their list profile. I just really do. I think Tom Duday's out of contract at the end of the season, so hopefully he can stay, and then that can really give him some security if he can sign on early on in the season. Like I said, I think that the home factor is a big asset for them. Of course, we felt the full brunt of that last year. That Adelaide Oval. I mean, maybe that's got something to do with us, less so than how good they are. But yeah, I just really like. I just when I watch Adelaide, I feel like there's something that draws me to them. Obviously, Isaac Rankin's an incredible addition. Of course, if Darcy Fogarty can actually become a consistent forward, we all know how good he can be. If he can really become a consistent player and really, kick on with his career, that'll be good. But yeah, I've got Adelaide in 11th. But if Adelaide finish 12th and Collingwood finish 11th, then I'm going to take that as a win as well. Because I was going to change, but I decided not to.
So I'm going to do the quick and fast version of 11th until you actually learn what a quick and fast is.
Sorry, I just need to explain. Sorry.
Yeah, explain. You've clearly explained, 11th, I've got Gold Coast. I think they've got a very good list, a very good young list that should be competing for the top 8. And I think if they were a team who had a decent home crowd and they were decently supported, I think they would make the top 8. But as I've alluded to, they just don't win outside of the Gold Coast, and which fair enough. When they've got no away support, and apart from a couple 13-year-olds that are making an active squad of cheer for the Melbourne games, that's all they have. So that's their issue, and that's where I think their downfall will be. I think they'll win a lot of games up in Queensland because the conditions just suit them very well. But outside of the Gold Coast, I couldn't see it going very well for them. They need at least 4 or 5 wins outside of the Gold Coast to make finals.
And I assume you don't think that's going to happen.
I couldn't see more than 3.
There you go. Fair enough. So let's hurry things along. Normally people don't speak about the bottom teams for a long time and speak about the top teams for a while, but I feel like we're going to get to first and just have to give a one-word answer because we can't time manage. Quickly, 10th, go.
Oh, you're telling me quickly 10th, the Bulldogs?
The Bulldogs. I'm just saying.
The Bulldogs in 10th. A team that could probably finish as high as 7th, but this was done on Squiggle, so this is where they ended up, and I didn't look at the ladder during those predictions, so they've ended up in 10th. I just think they'll have the same consistency problem, and it's a good list, but a forward line that's too tall and won't be able to run back. And a lot of teams that are really quick on transition will just hurt them, and they'll know how to punish them. So the Bulldogs, I think they'll be ultra competitive, as they always are, but I think consistency will be their downfall again. Over to you.
Yes, quick and smart, quick and fast.
Go.
I agree. What is that? Our second agreements, third agreements? I think second, isn't it? Yes. So yeah, I've got the Doggies in 10th as well. I think the phrase "too tall" is thrown around too often, but I genuinely think they are. When you've got Norton, Darcy, Bugelhagen, who else? Lob, that's the one. And the Ruckman, and then Josh Bruce is still on that list. Like, they're very tall, and I just think it's going to take a year for them to figure it out. But once again, they are a team that if they get it clicking and if they get it going right, it could jump them all the way up to top 4 at a push, maybe, but definitely bottom half of the 8 if it goes right. I don't think it will. I think they're 1 year off. There you go. Was that quick? That
was quick. That's good. Keep that up.
Okay. Ninth. Let's go. It's me, isn't it? Yeah. Port Adelaide. Yeah. All right, go. You. That was quick enough, wasn't it?
Port Adelaide as well.
All right, great. 8th. I'm joking. Good gag that. But all right, let's. I'll start. I think our reasoning will be very similar. Well, you have made scathing comments of them last week. So if you want full breakdowns of every team, look at last week's episode. If you think that we're not speaking about each club for long enough, then you've got plenty of time to listen to us ramble about Essendon for half an hour last week. So I've got Port Adelaide in 9th. I don't know why. I just feel like they are the 9th best team. Like I don't see anything within them that makes me think 9th. I think the 8 teams above them are better, and I think the 8 teams above them will be more consistent. I think the 8 teams above them are just got something that Port don't. So, it's not because I think they're rubbish. I just think by process of elimination, they fall to 9th.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that statement that there's 8 teams better than them, but I just also believe, like I said last week, the hunger's gone for them, and as soon as things go south for them, like they won't recover from it well because they know they are playing for a coach's career. So as soon as that starts to crumble, the culture will crumble as well. So yeah, that's all I'll say on the matter.
There you go, quick and smart, quick and fast. I don't know. 8th, go on, my friend.
So me.
Kick things off with.
I feel like I've got the more realistic prediction of Collingwood in 8th. Are you
saying that my prediction isn't realistic?
Look, you've said some odd things tonight, but you're either going to get it all right or wrong.
Look, I'd rather be all right than 50% right.
That is true. But Collingwood in 8th, yeah, I couldn't see them getting much worse. The only thing I could see happen is those games they won by a goal. Well, 50% of them fall their way this year. They've got the only good addition they had was Tom Mitchell, which was a good pickup, but I don't know if he'll make him astronomically better. But they have a good established game plan. And clearly, we saw from last year, it is very easy to break down, as you sort of saw from teams like Sydney. But I do think it will be broken down even further. You'd hope so from all the other 17 clubs, but they're the culture's just too good, and I just think they couldn't lose enough to not make the top 8. I think they'll be there, and they probably could finish higher. I don't know how you can see them finishing that low. I just don't see them all of a sudden losing. I just don't think it works like that.
I do.
But I guess we'll see.
I do. Hence 12th. And hence them probably going to kick us out of finals again this year because karma works in very mysterious ways. So, yeah, my 8th, and you could probably figure it out who it is based on the teams that I haven't said. I've got the Suns in 8th. I think this is the year they finally take that jump. I think I agree with what you said about not being able to win outside of Gold Coast. I think this is the year. I think it's going to happen at some point, right? They're not going to be a flat track bully forever. I think at some stage you're going to have to finally make that jump and win games outside of the Gold Coast. And I think it's going to be this year. Ben King's back. That midfield, if it stays fit like it did last year, is going to go on leaps and bounds. I think Took Miller is a jet. I think he's a star. Potential spoiler, maybe not, maybe who knows? For a little bit of one of my predictions later on, but yeah, I've got the Suns in 8th. They're just really good. I think they're one of those sides which is like, yeah, I want them to do well. Maybe it's a little bit of a pity factor, but I just want them to do well.
I agree. 7. Right. Let's do it.
7. It's me, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
In 7th. Interesting. I don't know why I put this team in 7th. I might change it. Nah, you know, I'll stick with it. I'll stick with what I've got. In 7th place, Richmond. Now, I'm going to be extremely careful with my wording and my phrasing, considering this time in 24 hours' time, it could be the beginning of the end or the beginning of my heartbreak at their hands. But no, I've got Richmond in 7th. But like I said, I think I said this last week, Richmond could finish anywhere in the top 8, and I've got them in the top 3 premiership favourites because they're just that good in September. I think last year was just something that happened. I think that's an anomaly. I think the midfield mix might take a little bit, or like it might take a little bit of a time. If I could speak English, that'd be great. Take a little bit of time to fully kind of develop and really come into their own. I said that now. Watch Hopper and Taranto have 60 between them and kick 4. But yeah, I think all the pieces are there. Dusty moving more permanent forward. I think that's going to make it. That's going to have a little bit of a add a different dynamic, which I think most of the team will have to get used to, playing him full-time forward. Does Shea Bolton make that next step? Does like, I don't know, Noel Cumberland make that next step? Maybe, I don't know, these players. So yeah, Morris Rioli, these players like this. So yeah, 7th, but I think the top 8 is extremely competitive. Anywhere from Collingwood, so from 13th, maybe barring Adelaide, because the nature of it, which is quite funny. But I think anywhere from Collingwood to about the 4, Collingwood to 3rd even, I think is a very level playing field. And you shake your head as if you disagree with what I've just said.
No, I don't. I was laughing at the Port Adelaide pun within it, but
sure.
But to save us time, I have Richmond in 7th, and I agree with what you said. So let's skip to 6, and I'll kick us off with.
We've only got 33 minutes. We got time anyway. All right, go.
Yeah, but you don't account that it will take us 20 minutes to just talk about the Brownlow medalists. So
yeah,
probably
point,
should.
Yeah.
We should.
The rising star.
The rising star. There we go. Yeah, if you say that one more time. 6. 6. I've got Carlton. Oh, mate.
Great. Here we go. Skip this.
I've got the Blues.
I should probably get the 6th up. Yeah. I'll get the 7 done with.
I've got the Blues in 6. I mean, it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. I could see Carlton finishing as high as 3rd because I think everything could click. Then it will, and if it does click, good luck stopping us. But also, if it doesn't click, I don't know. I just don't think our worst will make us miss out on finals compared to last year. Like our worst, we still hadn't really discovered what it was until obviously at the worst time of the season. So whereas this year we sort of know what it is, and our worst last year was still competing a lot of the time. So I would find it hard to see us missing out just based off the teams around. It's a sort of thing where you look below and it's like, will we lose to these teams? Maybe. Probably, away. Some of these teams away, yes. But at home, if you put any of these teams against us at home, I couldn't see us losing to a lot of them, but it really could go either way. But 6 for me.
Fair call. I've got the Dockers in sixth. Sixth, once again, very hard to say with two bits of plastic in your mouth. In the number six, there you go. I've got the Dockers. I think overall talent wise, I think they've stayed the same. Maybe I know. I think Fife coming back is like almost like a new player for them. Obviously losing Lob, losing Logue, Darcy Tucker as well, Blake Acres, but adding Jaeger gives the onus on the likes of I don't know like Jai Mist to step up, Neil Erasmus to step up, these type of players. So yeah, I think five forward's going to be good, but barring Fife, it's Matt Taberner and I mean, like I said, Jai Miss is going to have to step up. So I think they're going to be good. Like I said, that home factor, like we've said countless times, the home factor is going to be very, very prominent for them. I don't really see them losing a lot of games at home, but yeah, I've got them sixth, just ticking along, going through their kind of middle stage of development before maybe next year and the year beyond that, and the year beyond that, that's when we'll see them make a real push for the elusive premiership. Let's go fifth.
There you go.
I forgot we're doing a snake type thing. In fifth place, I made a last minute change. I've got the Swans in fifth. So yeah, obviously we all know who the top four is now, and we all know the team that's in it. So yeah, I've got the Swans in fifth. I think if they had, I think it's all down to that grand final. To be honest, I just think they're going to be the same. Obviously, like I can't remember. Did they lose anyone? I don't think they did. Did they gain anyone? I don't really think they did. So correct me if I'm wrong, unless I've had a mind blank.
I can't think as well, honestly.
Okay, good. Yeah, this is great research we've done.
Thank you. Yeah.
I don't know it either, so it's just all about the vibes. No, I think talent-wise is going to be the same. Some players will regress, some players will get better. So on average, I'll be about the same. I just think the grand final loss is going to hurt them mentally. I think teams might start to figure out how to play the SCG a little bit better. I say that they've had about a couple of decades to figure out how to play that ground a little bit better. So maybe that pocket that goes at right angles might not be a factor this year. But no, yeah, I've got the Swans in fifth. But it's like I said, super competitive. If they finish in the top four, I won't be surprised.
Fifth Freo for me. Pretty similar to like you said. You forgot about Luke Jackson. I think that was a pretty handy pickup.
Yes,
the
was,
Dockers.
Yes.
I just think they're just very competitive, and they are like another team. And all those Adelaide, Perth, Brisbane, Sydney. I mean, those four interstate teams. They don't lose at home very often, and the Dockers will be very hard to beat in Perth. I don't think they'll lose more than 2 games in Perth the whole season. So they've just got a very nice list. A list that will take them into finals. I can't say it will take them to a premiership right now, but I definitely think it's a list that should cruise them into finals, like without a doubt. Not even sort of struggle to get into the 8. They should comfortably get in. Now I'm going to move straight to 4th, and I have the Swans in 4th. Couldn't see them regressing too much. They just have too much youth to slow down and get worse. And I'm sure mentally it probably had an effect on them in the grand final, but as I alluded to last week as well, it's not like most of those teams who get smashed in the grand final, that's the last chance for a lot of those players, a lot of the senior players. Most of them were, no, I wouldn't say most of them, a few of them already had that 2012 premiership, whereas a lot of these young guys still have a lot of time on their careers left. So I think they'll be very competitive and have the same sort of season most top teams do, lose a couple here and there you don't expect them to, but win quite a lot of games and get them into the top 4. So 4th for me.
This is the period of the show where I hate the most because I have to speak about Carlton. Right? So yeah. I'm shocked I don't have Carlton in the top 3 as much as I would love to say it. I've got us 4th. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to jinx anything. I am very superstitious like that. But yeah, we'll be good. You'd like to think we'd improve. And historically, at least, there's always been a team that's come out of the 8 to jump into the 4. I don't think that's going to be Port. I don't think it's going to be the Dogs. I mean the who didn't make the 8 last year. I don't think it's going to be anyone except us if that's going to happen. So by process of elimination, that's going to be us. I hesitate to say any more, so I'm going to move on to third place. I think the top three, we've got the same top three, so I think a lot of people are the same top three. Very, very. Well, I want to say cut and dry, but these are the three teams that are probably going to contend later on. In third place, I've got the reigning premiers. I've got the Cats. I think the only reason why, I don't think they're going to get worse. I don't think they're going to get better. I just think when the Hunters are now going to become the hunted. Same reason why I think clubs like Collingwood may not do as well, because they were the hunters last year. They're now the hunted. Teams now know what to expect. Teams now know how to beat them. Teams now will put a lot more time into them. And I don't think that the hunger will be there. Like, will Danger really want to get that 1%er that might win them the ball or get a turnover? No, he's not. He can't be bothered, right? Will Tom Hawkins really run that extra hard to get that lead? No, he wouldn't, right? He can't be bothered. They've won the flag. Who cares? So, I think they'll be good. Obviously, they'll be good. Their talent's stacked. Probably one of the best lists in the comp. So, third place for the Cats.
Obviously, I think our top three is the exact same.
Yeah, obviously the home record as well is ridiculous. So.
Yeah, well, no, I've got John as well, and very similar reasons. And the other thought, very simple. I think that Brisbane and Melbourne will win more games than them and finish above them, and that's simply why I put them third.
Yeah,
very analytical.
That is normally how it happens, doesn't it? Yeah, just I can't remember.
That's my thought process.
Yeah, I don't know if there's been a team that's won more games than another team and finished below them. So unless they've had some mental draws throughout the season, but that's
maybe Essendon in 2013 is a good example. So it does.
Yeah,
happen.
that's some real cutting edge analysis from you there. Well done, mate. That's unreal.
That's
why people watch. That's why people watch. Second place. You go.
That's still me. Brisbane in second. It is me. Brisbane in second. Just a very good list. I sort of wrote them off at the end of last year, saying it was their final chance, but their list has got better, even though you wouldn't have expected it to. It's got better. So a team that will just be ultra competitive in the regular season. And like last week, it's just such a different ball game come finals. So I think Brisbane will finish second in normal, but finals, I couldn't give you a real prediction. So, I mean, I do actually have a prediction for them in the finals. But
I was going to say, we've got a prediction.
It could change.
Like, if you didn't have one, it'd be concerning. But,
so, Brisbane second.
Yeah, we disagree. Both of these in second.
There
we go. The reason why is because I think Brisbane are going to win more games than Melbourne. So I think Brisbane are going to finish up. Yeah. Once again, this is what people watch. It's some real cutting edge stuff. No, I think it's going to be level on points, percentage, one game, a draw. Even it's so close. It really is. It's so close. It really is neither here nor there type thing. I just think it will be one of those things. As we move to the top, obviously process of elimination. Got the Lions, similar to what you said. I just think it has to happen now. Their additions are ridiculous. Like their additions are absurd. But similar to what I said about Melbourne, or my reasoning behind Melbourne, it's going to be so tight. I reckon I see Brisbane winning more games by bigger margins than what I see Melbourne winning the same quantity of games by. That's purely my reasoning. Also, the Gabba factor is a lot stronger than the MCG factor. Yeah. There, but once again, it's so close, so by the by.
Yeah, Melbourne in first, just purely because they're going to win more games. That's actually not my reason this time. But I think they've actually, like you say, a team like North Melbourne has freedom to play. I also think Melbourne has quite a lot of freedom in their game as well, because they've got their premiership at the end of the day. Like, whatever happens in this next 3 or 4 years, if it becomes a dynasty or not, they've got that premiership. They broke that drought. They've got the talent. They can 100% contend. I just think there's a lot of freedom in the way they can play. There's not as much pressure on them. Like, there is, but compared to someone like Brisbane that we talk about, like, everyone's looking at Brisbane to win a premiership because their list is ready. They have to do it. Whereas Melbourne, if it comes to the end of the year and they've lost a prelim, you won't sit there and think that's it for them. Like, they're done, waste of a season. So, yeah, I just think Melbourne will play with a lot of freedom. So that rounds up our 18th to 1st.
So, quickly, round it up from 18 to 1 very, very, very briefly, my friend, on your end.
Okay. So Hawthorn, Giants, North, West Coast, Essendon, St Kilda, Adelaide, Gold Coast, Bulldogs, Port, top 8, Collingwood, Richmond, Carlton, Freo, top 4, Sydney, Geelong, Brisbane, Melbourne.
There you go. Mine, the Giants, Hawthorn, West Coast, St Kilda, Essendon, North, Collingwood, Adelaide, the Western Bulldogs, Port Adelaide, the top 8 of the Gold Coast Suns, Richmond, Fremantle, Sydney, Carlton, Geelong, Melbourne, Brisbane, round out the 4 as Daniel gives us his 4. Gee, that I would love that, mate. Honestly, geez, that is my dream. That is my dream. I mean, let us know your. We'll go 4. 8's a bit much. Top 4, if you're watching it live right now. But yeah, let's move on to the grand final as we get onto a little bit of some not obscure. I wouldn't say predicting the grand final is obscure, but some non-ladder predictions. I'll kick things off. I think we've got the same. Maybe, I don't know. I've got a grand final of Melbourne versus Brisbane, and I think the Lions are going to get it done. I think it's time. Has to be time. They're a team that has been knocking on the door. Where are we? Knocking on the door. They've been knocking for ages, and they have to do it now. This is their time. They've built the list. They've coached towards it, and yeah, this is it where everything comes together, I feel. And yeah, I think it's going to be like how I said with Melbourne, and Brisbane in the regular season. I think it's going to be so close. It's going to be a grand final decided by the 2 goals.
Yeah, well, like you said, I agree. Brisbane, Melbourne. I didn't actually pick a winner. I just picked a grand final. So it's
on the spot.
I'm going to say Melbourne just for what you said, really. But let's move on. We got to watch a time. But we're moving on. This segment now, a minute each. Like a minute between us each.
Okay, all right. Okay, here we go. You set the rules. Brownlow medal. I'll start. I've got Touk Miller. Hence, partly the reason.
I've got the same as well. There we go.
Okay, great. All right. I'll give my reasoning on behalf of you. Touk Miller's going to win the Brownlow. One of the reasons why I've got Gold Coast in the top 8. I think he was so good last year, and I think he just didn't poll enough because Gold Coast didn't win enough games. If they make the top 8, if they even win 1 or 2 more games what they did last year, he's going to poll. If he stays injury free, which what he did last year, that's going to be a bigger bonus. And I also think when you look at other players in the competition, I think Cripps will have votes taken off him this season because I think a lot of people are going to put time into him, so he's going to poll less. I think Bont is going to move forward, so he's going to have games where he might not poll despite playing very well. Clary and Petrarca, they're going to take votes off each other, and I don't really see a player coming through. Maybe someone like a Chad Warner, maybe, I don't know, could potentially come through. I doubt it. I think Touk Miller, for me, it would be the fairy tale, I feel, because a lot of people I want to see some Sun success, I feel.
Yeah, no, same. Touk Miller for me. I just, like you said, too many other players take votes off each other.
Yeah, I did it on behalf of you. I thought that's how we're doing it. I did it on behalf of you.
Yeah.
Coleman medal. You do it. If we've got the same, you can do it on behalf of me.
I've got Jeremy Cameron.
Yeah, we differ, unfortunately.
Different. It was a hard one. I don't know. I just feel like Geelong will rely on him quite a lot. And I know they've got Tyson Stengel, but he's just one that's so reliable. I think they'll look to feed it into him quite a lot. And sort of like we said, I don't think their game plan will be over the top this year. They will just play for the fun of it in a good way. But I think Jeremy Cameron he's just at the peak of his career. I don't know why he wouldn't keep getting better. And now he's got his team success. Why not go for that individual success? That's quite a big goal. So Jeremy Cameron for me.
I've got Carlton's own Harry Mackay. I think the reason why I say Harry Mackay is because what? Go. Explain.
No, it was so not expected. So not expected.
Oh, sorry, Jeremy.
Haven't even thought out of the box there. You've just said Harry Mackay.
Says Jeremy Cameron. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I haven't heard anyone say Jeremy Cameron.
He
I
literally
thought I
won.
was being.
He literally kicked the most goals last year if you count finals.
But we're not counting finals, are we?
All right, whatever. Okay, fuck it. I don't know. Darcy Fogden is going to win the Coleman medal. There, you happy?
Oh mate, that's a big. That's a good one. That's a big one
Yeah,
there. That
right.
is a
Yeah, right.
huge
Right.
call.
Levi Casbott's going to come from nowhere to win it. What do you want from me, man?
I don't know.
I put Collingwood 12th. What more do you want from me?
Yeah, it's a good one, but Harry's won
okay.
it. You know, Harry's won it.
So was
It's gotta be
Jez.
something different. But he'll win it again. I don't know.
Oh, right. So Jez can win it again, but Harry can't. Yeah, no
Yeah,
worries.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
much.
Harry's going to win
Pretty
the
much.
Coleman because he's kicking drop punts this year. That's why. That's gonna, if he starts missing him, he better kick him straight. That boy. Let's move on to the Rising Star. I've got Ashcroft, but I'm not the draft expert. So who do you got?
See, okay, Ashcroft will win it, but
how's the
I would
backflip?
No.
Is the
No,
backflip?
because listen, that's not my. I would love to see. I'm picking my Sandy friends from last year. I think Sheasel is primed to win. You'd think he'd just win off the player he is, but Ashcroft. We looked at Dacos last year. I don't think he had had as much impact as someone like John Newcomb had, right? And that's what they typically just vote off, is who had the most touches and who was doing it the most. Then Ashcroft will do that, but I think Sheasel will have the most impact for North Melbourne. And another one, Charlie Clark from the Bulldogs. I'd love to see him pop up if he does get a game during the year. He's one to watch as well. But
it's a Rising Star, not Stars. Rising Star, singular.
Well, you just call me a draft expert, so I'm giving you some more information.
Should I chuck that in my multi or what?
You won set one.
Yeah, and it's going to win, and I'm going to be rich. So people will be laughing then. You're going to have to find a new co-host, or I'm going to be in the Bahamas. All right. Surprise Australian, you start.
I don't know if it's a surprise, but I think Nat. No.
Sure, I was going to say.
No, but let me give my reasoning.
Okay, go. Nat Fyfe.
I'm saying Nat Fyfe,
yeah.
But in his forward position, right? Like as a half forward.
Unbelievable.
Not as a midfielder. But I just think he'll be very, very good in that position. Tell me yours. Seriously, I'd love to hear yours.
Ollie Florent.
Go. Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, right. You've actually got me on that one.
Ollie
fair enough. You know what? Yeah. You can have that one. You can have that one.
Ollie Florent will establish himself as one of the best halfbacks in the comp, or back pockets, wherever he plays, because it's not in the midfield anymore. But he's going to have a full preseason in his preferred position. He's not going to have Warner or, I don't know, Mills or Gouldem or whoever edging him out of that midfield spot. He already knows where he's going to play. Ollie Florent, he's going to tear the competition apart this season. I've been on him. I've been big on him for years. Finally, he's going to pay me back, and finally, he's going to show just how good he is, I think. So, yeah, that's an actual surprise, right?
It is an actual surprise. Yeah, okay. Yeah, look, we'll give it to you.
Right. Recruit of the year. I'll start. Jack Gunston. Smokey for the Coleman. Brisbane are going to win the flag. You can kick 50 goals plus.
I like it, and I've got another forward from the Dockers, Luke Jackson. I think he will be a great fit, and he's actually a key position forward, not Rory Lobb. So someone the Dockers should be able to.
I would say Lobb's more of a forward.
Yeah, but he's just a bit. I don't know. You just compare him to Luke Jackson. I'm taking Luke Jackson in any scenario.
Well, I have a rule. If you're above 205 centimeters, you have to play as a ruckman. And the fact that Lob standing at 208 centimeters isn't a ruckman annoys me. So I'm glad.
But Luke Jackson, I think he'll just thrive for our hometown. He'll love it. So that's my normal prediction.
Here we go. Headline we will see. Go on, my friend.
This is me now. Look, you predicted it before, but this is like a iffy headline.
Pause. We had a conversation before we started filming, and he said that I'm going to hate this one. So if this is something that was going to piss me off, I will literally kick you from this stream. Right? Go.
Collingwood break X record for the amount of close games won in this X period. I think they'll do it again. Not for the whole season, but I would not be surprised if it happens for another 2 or 3 games.
I hate you.
Look, it's
Why?
bound to happen.
Why?
Because teams don't learn, so I think they'll keep getting their way. Teams didn't learn last year. What makes you think it's just going to turn all of a sudden?
They've had 6 months to figure out how they're going to beat them. That's why.
Yeah, but you're not playing against them. You're just training. You're training against your own players.
Sorry,
so
my mistake.
Exactly.
Right, I'll give a good headline. We will see. At Adelaide Oval, here's one. Adelaide Oval resembles cow paddock at the conclusion of Gather Round. Now, the reason I say
I like that.
There's twofold reasons behind this, right? Firstly, there's 6 games played on that weekend out of the 9 are at Adelaide Oval. And secondly, I don't think they've thought about this. What if it rains? What if it's torrential storms and the pitch is fucked from the first game and they've got 5 more to play? They haven't really planned ahead, have they? Firstly, I think Gather Round's a shit idea, just quietly. I don't like it at all, right? And especially Melbourne people going bananas over it. We literally have 4 games a weekend in our own state. Why aren't you rocking up to North versus West Coast at 1:45 at Marvel on a Saturday afternoon, right? But if it's in Adelaide, you're going to go, right? I think it's a stupid idea. And you know what? Quietly, I hope it fails because I don't want to see it again. So yeah, cow paddock by the end of it. And I think there's a Collingwood St Kilda, the last game. I hope that game is awful to watch. I hope it's awful to watch because they deserve it. Not the teams, the AFL. There you go.
I agree. I like you. I back it. Well, people forget Metricon in 2020 during COVID. It was like disgusting.
Shit. Yeah, exactly.
And that was so bad.
And
I agree.
And they had COVID, so no one was stepping on the pitch except the players, right? Right. Headline we won't see. I've got the old guard return to lead their clubs to glory. So that is in specific reference to St Kilda and to Essendon. I don't think this new or like this old coaches coming back. I know it's not their former teams, but coming back after a couple of years out of the game, I don't think it's going to work. I think the game's evolved. I think training methods, coaching methods, tactics have evolved. I don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to be. I just don't think it's going to work for either team. Not necessarily saying it's not going to work forever. It may work next season. It may work the year after. But for this season at least, I just don't see either side having any real success. As said by my season prediction.
Yeah, and mine is a bit different, but 19th team in Tasmania confirmed is a headline you won't be seeing. So a bit of an odd one, bit out there, but I just don't think it will happen. Relying on the Tasmanian government to make that money come is probably we're just going to be waiting ages.
Oh, there you go. We're a politics show now.
Yeah, man, that was my aim.
Yeah.
Political.
Why bring this political for, bro? Why have you done that?
Let's go.
No. So you just with mine, you piss off. Actually, we both pissed off an entire state, I assume. Oh, no, I pissed off a city. You pissed off a state. So there you go. All right, let's piss off some more people as we finish our season predictions. That's done, and we've got 2 minutes until we're under the hour. So quick 30 seconds on each. I think this whole situation is the funniest thing to have ever happened to the AFL because you got Port Adelaide who are just like, they just let us wear our jumper. Like, it's not that big of a deal. We're not wearing it against Collingwood. Just let us wear our own jumper. And then you got Collingwood clinging on to you signed an agreement 65 years ago. You signed an agreement. And then you got the 16 other clubs who literally don't give a shit. I think it's the funniest thing. And the fact that as soon as Eddie Maguire is out of his role, he's the one hope that he had and the one thing that he fought so hard for has been ripped away from Collingwood. I think that's just a cherry on top to make that even funnier. So, yeah. And also, I rate the enabled part of that statement. I love the pettiness. I think it's great. But it's so not deep. I don't know why people care.
Well, personally, prison bars are over. The Guernsey itself, overrated. I love Port's Guernsey from about 2000. Oh, that one they had before the V. I love that Guernsey. Bring that back. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. But I agree. It's just hilarious.
Okay, great. Good to say we're on the same page. Right, round one predictions. As unless we do it in 2 seconds, I don't think we're going to do it under an hour. So there you go. All right. Thankfully, there's no show on after this because they'd be waiting a while. All right. Round one predictions. Let's just go quick fire. I'm going to say the games. Give us the winner. Quick fire.
Yep.
No reasoning. No reasoning.
Yep.
Just the name. Richmond.
Say that to yourself. That's Richmond.
I hate you. Carlton. Here we go. Geelong Collingwood.
Geelong.
Oh, don't lie to yourself, mate. Jesus. Geelong as well. North West Coast.
West Coast.
The most boring game of football of all time. But North will win. Port Adelaide, Brisbane.
Brisbane. Thumping.
Yeah, I agree. Not the thumping bit. It is at Adelaide. Let's be careful. Melbourne, the Dogs.
Melbourne.
The Dogs. Melbourne have no players. Gold Coast, Sydney.
Sydney.
Gold Coast. Giants, Adelaide.
Adelaide.
Adelaide. Hawthorn, Essendon.
Essendon.
Hawthorn. Freo, St Kilda.
Dockers.
I agree. Funnily enough, St Kilda are paying $1.94 according to Sportsbet. I don't know if
I feel like I'm very leggy at the moment.
Yeah, you're fine. It's all good. We're about to end. It's all good. Yeah, gamble responsibly, but St Kilda at $1.94, not good odds. All right, gamble responsibly as well, and over 18, of course. Nathan's lagged completely. He's frozen on my screen, so I'm just going to wrap things up. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm sure this whole technical issue. There we go. He's gone. Where is he? Is he back? We're back.
I'm back.
Thankfully, we ended it. We got your St Kilda prediction in now. We got your St Kilda, your Freo prediction. So cool.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for watching another episode. And we rambled again for over an hour, which is a surprise to no one. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me once again. It was a pleasure, as always. Never a chore. Make sure you tune in to us next week. Make sure you follow all the socials of the rest. The rest BA, or I don't know, just type up the rest on Twitter and TikTok, you'll find it. And our socials as well. Nathan Seppi. That's how you pronounce your last name, isn't it?
Yeah,
there you go. And Ari Stamatakos. So there you go.
Yeah.
A lot more exotic than yours. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the Blue Board YouTube channel, like the video, comment. Nathan, thank you very much for joining me. See you guys next week. Leave your thoughts and predictions in the comments below as well. So yeah, see you guys. Goodbye.